Welcome to the Q1 Buck Pull. I'm Tim Hart with Mike Big Buck Hoffner. Well, Mike, the weather has changed, and more deer are running, as evidenced by the deer that bounced off my van the other day.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was out in the woods, and they're chasing, man. It's crazy. It's starting to happen.
Well, the weather has changed, and that is the biggest thing for deer to get moving, and we're excited about that, and we're excited about having you enter in the Q1 Buck Pull. Well, this week on the Buck Pull, we've got Dennis Fox. He's going to talk about mentored youth hunting, and studies have shown that if you get kids out early in their life, then they tend to stick with it more.
Well, you know, I think it's a great opportunity for the youth, and I really like the concept, and I like the idea, because not only is it getting them excited and getting them out there, it's teaching, and that's what it's all about.
Do you like CSI? Do you like all those crime scene investigations? Well, today we're going to talk to David Stevens, and he is a forensic scientist that is working with the DNR, and forensics have come to catching people out there doing the wrong thing.
Well, I guess the example is you better do it right, because, man, technology and blood splattering, all those kinds of concepts that are out there, they brought into the woods.
We also have our sponsor Spotlight this week, and then we've got Tony LaPratt and Chris Pearson. They're going to be talking about team hunting. And you know, Mike, there's nothing worse than you have one philosophy, I have another philosophy. We're going out in the same tract of land, and that doesn't work.
Well, you know, having a partner that has like philosophies, I think, is critically important. And so that when you go out there, choose your partner wisely.
And then we've got some featured bucks, all that and more, right here on the Q1 Buck Pull. Firekeepers Casino and Hotel present the Q1 Buck Pull. Back here on the Q1 Buck Pull, where we've got some great prizes we're giving away this year. We are finalizing our prize parties, so go online to q1buckpull.com. I'm starting to list the dates and times and where we're having the parties, what locations. So, we're excited about that. We're excited about the bucks coming into the contest.
Yeah, we've had some great deer brought in, Tim. Let's start out with Ross Lobel from Southwest Michigan with a 9-pointer. The score was 40.5. Then we go to Matt Coyle from Southwest Mid-Michigan with a 9-pointer. His score was 39.5. Dave Moore from Mid-Michigan with an 8-pointer. The score is 35. And Brandon Girk from Mid-Michigan with an 8-pointer. The score is 43.5.
So again, we encourage you to get bucks and does registered into the contest, because you have a chance to win, not just like muzzle loaders, but you have a chance to win the Yamaha Grizzly 350 ATV. With that, Mike, a lot of people are working to get kids in the outdoors, and with the DNR, they now have the mentored youth hunting. Today, we're going to talk to Dennis Fox about it.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal concept. I think it's great. It's about teaching, it's about learning, and it's about doing it right. And what a great way to get kids started in the outdoors.
2012 was the first year for mentored youth hunting, and today I've got Dennis Fox with us. He heads up the program with the DNR. Dennis, welcome to the Buck Pull.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, first of all, remind us what the mentored youth hunting is.
Mentored youth hunting is the license that allows youth under the age of 10 to go out hunting, and it allows the parents to make the decision parents and guardians to make the decision as when they're ready to go. The mentored youth license allows youth to small game hunt, to deer hunt, to fall and spring turkey hunt, and to get an all-species fishing license and a fur harvester's license.
All right, so it gives them all kinds of opportunities to get in the outdoors. Now, do I have to, when you said parent or guardian, so again, if I'm an uncle or an aunt, or if I'm a friend of the family, I can take that youth out into the woods with this license then?
Yes, you can. The requirements are that the parent or guardian be at least 21 years old. Mm-hmm. They have a hunting license themselves, and they have prior experience in hunting or trapping.
About how many people took advantage of this in 2012?
Last year was a pretty good year. It was the first year, and so this is the base year, and we had about 10,500 people buy licenses.
Mm-hmm. How can people get involved in the mentored youth hunting?
You can take kids outside. Research shows that if you get youth out involved prior to the age 10, it's more likely that they're going to stay. And so even if they're not ready to harvest an animal, you can still get them out involved. You can show them the different types of trees. You can show them wildlife habitat. You can practice firearm safety, crossing fences with guns. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get them out. The most important thing is just to get them outside and get them involved.
Well, I think that we get so involved in our fast-paced life, whether it's our sports activities, whether it's our computer activities, our iPads, whatever the case is. But really, it's just a matter of getting the kids out to kind of see what nature is all around them.
Yes, it is. That's the important thing. The earlier we can get the kids out, the more likely they're going to stay involved.
Are there any changes for 2013?
No, not this year. The Natural Resources Commission work group met in February, and they reviewed the season, they reviewed the safety record, and they felt that it was pretty good shape, and they're not going to make any changes this year.
All right, and now are you guys going to track the kids that started in this mentored youth program, years to come to see if they stay in the outdoors or if they continue to hunt and fish?
Yes, we are. Now that they've bought licenses, they're in the retail sales database, and so we can keep track of them, see if they're buying every year, but more importantly we can also let them know about what's the different opportunities that are going on, the different types of hunts, any changes. We can send messages to them that way. Long term, yes, we probably will, but those more in-depth studies will have to occur in 10 to 15 years when they get to be adults. And so then we can look back and see if they're still hunting, which hopefully they are, and if they're not, then we can start looking at maybe some other changes that we need to make.
It sounds like the DNR, I know over the last 3 or 4 years since we've been working with you guys, really proactive in getting people into the outdoors. Not only that, but also getting feedback from hunters and fishermen out there. So it's really become kind of I don't want to say a great program, but overall you're coming out with so many great things to get people outside.
Oh, we have great support. We have great support from the constituent groups. We have support from the governor's office and the legislature, and they're really helping with, tackle a lot of the changes that we think, everybody thinks need to be made, and, it's a good time.
Big thing is get to the outdoors. Is that right?
Absolutely. Get outside. Nice day like today. I'm glad we're outside.
Exactly. Get the youth out there. That's the big thing, too, so we can continue all of our heritage here in the state of Michigan. Dennis, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. With our DNR update, I'm Tim Hart. We've got more coming up. You're watching the Q1 Buck Bowl. Back here on the Q1 Buck Poll, and Mike, forensics have come a long way. We see all the TV shows, you see them, the blood splatter, you've got the tire tracks, you've got all the different, fingerprints here or there, and that really has come now to the DNR. David Stevens is going to talk about that and how they track people not doing the right thing in the outdoors.
Yeah, it's called crime scene investigating. And I'll tell you what, and we're knowledgeable about that because we have a criminal justice program at the Career Center. And I'll tell you what, every year they have a crime scene investigation competition, and you're right. They're fingerprinting, they're pouring molds for tire tracks, footprints, blood spattering, you name it, they've got it.
What's it all about? Let's check it out. Time now for our DNR update. We've got David Stevens with us here. Welcome to the Q1 Buck Bowl, David.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, you've heard about CSI. We're going to talk about some forensics today and how it's being used by the DNR out in the wild. And first of all, though, David, tell me a little bit about your background, and then we're going to talk about how you came into working with the DNR.
Sure. I'm a native Michigander, actually, and been fishing and hunting in the area for quite a long time. And I've been an outdoorsman pretty much all my life, a backpacker and camping and so on, and been fortunate enough to hunt out west a lot. And but anyway, as far as my profession goes, I've worked as a forensic scientist for the Michigan State Police for 23 years. I was at the Bridgeport Laboratory for 17 years. I worked in the area of serology, which is a study of blood and body fluids and DNA. And then also hairs, fiber, footwear, tire tracks, bloodstain pattern interpretation. Worked on a lot of crime scenes. And then transferred to a position as the laboratory commander at the Marquette Laboratory, where I was in charge of forensic operations for the state police for the UP for about 6 years. And retired from the state police in 2010. And I had a great opportunity come up the next year in 2011 with Michigan State University, where I am now in charge of a forensic outreach program for wildlife and environmental investigations. And I've been doing that just over 2 years now. I have two responsibilities really there. I have a teaching and education component with Michigan State University, but I'm also working quite a bit now with the conservation officers of the Law Enforcement Division within the Michigan Department of Natural Resources to help them understand, recognize, and upgrade their collection capabilities of physical evidence so that we can use forensic science in their investigations.
Well, and as we talk about using forensic science in the investigating of a wildlife crime scene, I mean, what are we talking about gathering?
We're talking about pretty much the same types of evidence we would find in traditional policing or human cases, and out in the field. It's often an outdoor scene, and it's going to be evidence like DNA evidence. It might be blood or tissue from an animal, but it can also be firearms evidence like casings, cartridges, fired bullets, impressions like boot impressions, tire impressions, evidence found in vehicles, but it could also be digital type evidence nowadays with GPS and cameras. A lot of things are going in that direction, so that can be another component of evidence that could be collected.
Now, are the conservation officers, they're kind of a one-man band out there, so they have to do all this stuff, right?
They are. In my last 2 years, I've really grown to appreciate the fact that they're kind of jack of all trades, because a traditional police officer, let's say a county officer responding to a scene, can call in the cavalry if he's got a major situation, versus conservation officers are really out in the woods oftentimes by themselves, and they need to be the evidence technician, the photographer, the pathologist, and the detective all rolled into one. So I think my role is to help put the tools in their hands so that they can better do their job.
Mm-hmm. And then all of the evidence comes back to the lab?
Not all of it. It depends really on what the analysis of the evidence will be. For instance, on campus we have a DNA wildlife laboratory, and that's the laboratory that does the DNA analysis for a lot of most of the DNR cases nowadays.
All right.
And that would be examined or compared to see whether or not there's a comparison, say, between a evidence found in a shooting situation or at a scene out in the wild, and compared to evidence found at a home or on a vehicle or on clothing, something like that.
You know, in talking about forensics, is this something that a lot of states are doing, or is Michigan kind of ahead of the game right now?
I think Michigan's in a proactive position at this point. I think there is room for improvement and for more positive action. We don't have a standalone forensic laboratory at this point. There are some states that already do have that, like Wyoming and Tennessee, and then the federal government has the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services Laboratory in Ashland, Oregon. But I see a growth in the interest of protecting our natural resources, and so I see the growth in the use of forensic science by police officers like conservation officers as something that's going to not only it's going to grow, it's going to continue into the future and become more important and more useful.
Well, bottom line is you want to solve the crime scenes out in the woods just like you would do anywhere else, and that's what forensics is doing for the DNR.
That's correct. Forensic evidence or physical evidence really is objective. And I think if there's going to be a trial or a court case, obviously juries want to hear about objective evidence. I think that's what the public expects. And in the long term, the benefit is not only to the natural resources, but it also would increase greater fishing and better fishing opportunities and hunting opportunities, as well as tourism in our state. So,
well, David, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, David Stevens with us talking about forensics and how it's being used in investigating wildlife crime scenes out there. I'm Tim Hart. That's your DNR update. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Time now for our sponsor spotlight here on the Q1 Buck Poll. We're at Frank's Sporting Goods in Morley. I've got Vic Havens with us. Vic, welcome to the Buck Poll.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tim.
All right, one of our locations where you can register your deer. Vic, we want to talk about some of the different aspects of the store here. In particular, let's start with the long guns. I've got a Savage sitting right here, and you've got all kinds of selection here.
We do, actually. We carry everything from the low-end stuff all the way up into the higher quality stuff here. We carry a range of long guns, handguns, shotguns. Pretty much got everything the hunter or, the sportsman would like to have this year.
Well, one thing that I think that people will appreciate too, a store that really customer service is your key, because you're behind the counter all the time. You're a person that's out in the woods a lot, and you can give them great advice.
You bet. I mean, that's all we do. All of our people staffed in here. Got a few of my family members that work here. We all hunt, we fish, we trap, so when a guy comes in here, he's actually going to get the real world explanation. We're not going to just try to feed him a line. We actually tell them what we've used, how we've used it, what the guys are using, whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, whether it's trapping. We give them the exact thing that they need.
Tell me about the Savage 110 here.
Savage 110, that's a real popular model for us. Last year, Savage put that package together. It comes with a Nikon BDC scope on it, about a $200 scope if we were to sell it separately. The Savage has got the AccuTrigger on it. It's got a really good barrel and everything. Accuracy is really good with it. So it's been a good seller for us. It's retailing right in the mid 500s, so really affordable for everybody.
All right, talking about guns here at Frank's Sporting Goods in Morley. Now let's move on to the rest of the shop. One of the things that you guys are known as, the place to come and get trapping supplies.
You got it. We got one of the biggest selections in West Michigan. That's one of my niches that I've always, put out there for everybody. Did a lot of trapping over the years. The fur market's really good right now. Muskrats are really high. Raccoon look like they're going to be pretty high this year. It's really going to be a great year, especially that first timer out there. You want to get the grandkid out. Everybody says, geez, I used to trap. Boy, I'd like to get my grandkid or my son or something like that. It's going to be the year to do it. I mean, it's going to pay off this year. Last year, muskrats were averaging $15 at some of the sales. Back when I trapped Tim, it was $2.50.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's a really big thing. You're right, back in the day, you got it. But yeah, we got a full line of trapping supplies here, from traps to scent making stuff. We got the scents, we got it all for you, and we got the knowledge to teach you how to do it.
All right, talk with Vic Havens here at Frank's Sporting Goods in Morley. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
All right. We've got more coming up. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Mike, our sponsor spotlight gives people a chance to see some of the different stores and the mom and pop operations, not the big box stores, but, where people, if you walk in, you're actually talking to the owner.
And quite frankly, that's where I prefer to shop, because when you go in there sometimes, especially when you're talking about tuning your bow and sighting in your rifle or whatever it may be, they'll take the time to show you how to do those little techniques.
Next up, we've got Tony LaPratte and Chris Pearson. They're talking about team hunting. They're with Ultimate Land Management, the Whitetail Boot Camp. And Mike, they're two guys that have had a lot of success over the years, as evidenced by all the bucks on the wall that they've taken, and they have the same philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because we all know you put 10 hunters in our room and we have a conversation about what you should be doing in terms of hunting. Do you want to do QDMA? Do you want to shoot brownage down? Do you want to shoot does? Everybody has their niche. Everybody has their own philosophy, and I think it's important that you pair up with somebody that likes to do the same things that you like to do. And the other thing I think is important about picking your team players, you got to pick somebody you enjoy being with.
Right, exactly. Well, that's why I'm always with... Oh, well, yeah, I guess I am. All right, here's Tony and Chris.
And for you hunters out there, this is another problem that we're having. Me and Chris travel all over the country and help hunters, and what we find out is two guys may work together and get along great at work, but then they go buy a property together, and they both have two totally different ways of looking at deer hunting. One guy wants to shoot nice quality bucks. He wants to pass up on little bucks. The other guy wants to really have a place to party a lot of times. He wants to come out, ride four-wheelers all over. He really ain't serious. And the one guy wants to put in food plots, work hard. The other guy don't want to show up for food plot working days. And so guys, take the time to find somebody that is really a carbon copy of you. Me and Chris have two totally different personalities. But you want to know what? I would not be the man I am today without Chris. We have been friends for over 35 years, and my success is built off of him. And I can't count the number of days and times that I needed his help. I seen a buck move, I had to move a stand in the middle of the night. I called Chris up, said, Chris, please come over and help me. He never once told me no. He shows up, we work hard, and I think both of us over the years have complemented each other, and we have the same work ethics. We come in, we want to get our food plots, we show up, we work hard, And Chris, you explain some of the problems we find.
Well, that's good, Tony, like what you're explaining. Number one, basically, we work as a team, okay? And basically, that is one of the biggest things that Tony was talking about, where basically one guy's one way, and basically, you have to work as a team. Basically, like what Tony's talked about, we've basically been best friends for over 35 years. In the last 25 years, we have over 60 mature bucks between the two of us. And then now when you start talking about mature bucks, basically a lot of people have problems basically passing on that 2.5-year-old deer. You got to understand that basically at 2.5, that's his third hunting season he's into. You need to pass on that deer, and now when he's to 3.5, a 3.5-year-old deer, Tony, is a quality deer in Michigan, basically almost across the whole United States and everything. This is what a lot of people have. But what you got to understand is you need to work as a team. You need to both be on the same path, basically your ethics and everything else, but basically your hunting styles, everything. As a team, you basically will be 3 times successful as an individual. So that's what basically hunting partners, and basically that is what Tony and me have done for a long time.
Okay guys, we live for deer. That's true. Some people think it's bad, but that's really, being honest, we are whitetail fanatics, hardcore all the way. But the next day, we will strategize together what we've seen and make our plan from there. And that's your tip of the week from Tony LaPratte for Q1 Buck Pull.
Well, Mike, we've talked about a lot here on this show today. We've talked about mentored youth hunting, getting kids in the outdoors. We've talked about pairing up with somebody of like mind so that when you go out in the woods and you got a certain tract of land, somebody's not shooting a little buck and you're waiting for the big buck. A lot of different tips and techniques here today.
And and a lot of things have changed. Right now, we're into the phase of the hunting where we're in the pre-rut phases, Tim. And the rut's right here. I saw deer chasing does this weekend, and the crops are going down. The feeding patterns start to change. It's a whole new ball game as you get into that rut phase. So pay attention to those details.
Well, and you talk about the crops going down. I can imagine just on my road alone, they have cleared almost all the corn, and I am positive that some of the big bucks, they just bed right in that area.
Yeah, the acorns are still out there, so that's a favorite food for bucks. And I've been into the middle of the woods where I do my hunting, and they've been out there eating those acorns. I've seen a lot of deer. I just can't get a big one to cooperate.
Well, we're going to have it cooperate this week, all right?
I hope so.
Again, we invite you to go to q1buckpull.com to see all the deer and also to get yourself registered in the contest this year. Remember, whenever you're out in the woods, be safe.
Okay, let's do it.
Bucky Hoffner, 2, 1. Back here on the Q1 Buck Pull. Well, Mike, all right, I'm going to let you. I'm opening it up. I'm opening the door for Hoffner. I'm opening the door for Hoffner.
All right.
Here we go. Try not to be stupid.
I'll try not to be.